Hi, I'm Emily, author of the XERUS Galaxy Saga, and today we are going to talk about something that I recently just experienced. I was away from home for several days last week as I was attending a convention. Now, this was a specific convention for homeschoolers, but I do think that the points we're going to talk about today, which is selling your book in person, is going to translate to any in-person event that you as an author are going to have. Whether you're traditionally published or independently published, the 6 things that I'm going to talk about today, I think are going to be very helpful for you, especially if you've never actually sold books in person or if you've done it a few times but don't feel as confident. So let's go talk about it. The very first thing that I think is important for you if you're going to an in-person event is to really create your space so that it draws people in. Now for me, I think we'll be able to show a picture on the screen here of my typical setup, but I tend to have a lot of space-themed things in order to really make people understand this is what I write and this is what my books are about. I've invested in a banner that very clearly states young adult science fantasy, does have my face on it, but that kind of helps people from afar or people who are close up to see, oh, this is the author, this is what she writes, and I'm very clear in my very short lines on those banners about what it is that I write, that it is no spice science fantasy, that it's for young adults, that it's action, adventure, all of that, because I want people who are going to be my potential readers to come in. So that's the very first thing, is to draw them in. Other things that help with this, in addition to just a pleasing, eye-catching setup, is to offer some sort of initial contact. Now, this can look really different, and it does just depend on the type of event you're attending. For me at this homeschool convention, I wanted to make connections, especially with younger readers, and those are my audience, those who love young adult science fantasy. So I was able to reach out. I asked questions like, well, what do you like to read? Or in some cases, I saw a neat sweatshirt or a bag that I really liked, and so that created a great opening for me to be like, hey, I really like that. And then it draws that person into the booth. Again, it's not a way to oh, how can I just bring people in, with saying something. It's actually making a genuine connection, because people are going to tell the difference in that. So the second thing you need to do is to transition then to your book. So you bring them in with a pleasing setup, you ask a question or engage them in conversation, and then when it feels right, you transition to talking about your book. It is a pitch to them, yes, but I find the way to do this in a way that is maybe the easiest way and less salesy is to have a high concept. And I won't go into this because I did a whole video on it, which you can check out somewhere around here. But definitely make sure that you have a solid high concept. For me, it's a very easy question of, have you seen The Greatest Showman? And then I transition into, well, my book is like that meets Star Wars, and then I go further if they have more questions. But having that really solid high concept allows people to immediately understand, oh, I can put this book in this frame of reference. Perhaps you've written a Hunger Games type book, but it's different because of X, Y, and Z. That would be another great hook to add in. So make sure you have that solid. The third thing that I would suggest doing is to offer something free. Now, I am a designer, so to me, the best thing that I can do is design a really pretty bookmark that I can then offer to people. But here's the twist. On the front side, it's got a great quote. It has some space themes to it, but it's also bookish because I use the background of books to kind of just give it that feel. And it's just, I think it's really pleasing. Then you flip it over and whoops, there's some marketing material on the back. Now I don't make it where it's in your face, but I wanted to have something that I could freely give away very easily to people who are looking for books, because usually when they're at any kind of convention that has tables for authors, they're going to want a bookmark, right? So I offer something like that, make it really simple, easy, but then I also just make sure that my website is on there, links to social media, even a QR code or something like that, so that they're taking something free, which most people will do, and that can ensure sales way beyond an actual convention when someone comes across that bookmark. You could also do this with stickers, One of my table mates who was sitting next to me, who's also a good author friend, she had bought, I think, like 100 pack of Grogu stickers, so The Mandalorian, and those did really great with the kids, and it brought them to the table, and then we were able to share about our books. The fourth thing, and this can be optional and can also be hard depending on the kind of event you go to, but to have a newsletter sign-up sheet. Now, I had one, which I thought was really great, but my table mate, her name's Sophia, she was brilliant about it because she had special stickers that she said, oh, if you sign up for my newsletter, you can take one of these stickers, different than the free stickers she was giving away. I thought that was a great idea, and that might be something that I will use at future events. But I also really want people who want to be part of my newsletter signing up. I don't want to necessarily, not that she was coercing them, but I don't want to kind of influence that if they're just going to unsubscribe or mark it as spam, especially because then that hurts my newsletter numbers. So find a way in which you can bring people in. And it's also another great way to ensure sales beyond the actual convention or expo or whatever you're at, because there might be people who have purchased a lot of books and in the future they'd like to purchase your book, but they're just not at that point yet. So joining your newsletter then gives them opportunities for sales and information about your book. So make sure you have a sign up for that. The fifth thing I like to do is offering discounts. Now, this might depend on who you go to a convention with, if you're indie, if you're traditional. I was with a bookshop there, so they were the ones handling all of my book sales, but usually I'm in charge of those book sales. So they went off of list price of my books, which is a little high just because my print costs are high. They're both big books. But they were willing to offer a 10% discount if you bought the whole series. Now for me at this point, since my third book isn't quite out yet, the series was the first 2 books. So they were able to offer 10% off when people bought 2 books together. I love that. When I do my own table sales, basically, I definitely drop the price of my paperbacks by several dollars, and I also offer discounts when I bundle them together, or something like buy both and you get bookmarks. At this particular event, I also included bookmarks with that purchase price. And then the sixth thing, and this is going to seem a little counterintuitive, but is for you to know when the person is not your ideal reader. Now, this is going to be challenging sometimes and very obvious at other times. I had a few interactions with people where, as I was describing my story to them, I could tell, one aspect of it shut them down. They're not interested in sci-fi, they don't want romance in their books, or whatever it might be. That is crucial and valuable information to be able to kind of gauge when you're selling in person, because you don't want to try to hard sell someone who just is not your reader. And at the same time, you don't want those people to be your readers because they're more than likely going to judge your books a little more harshly, potentially rate you at a lower amount just because they were never intended to read it in the first place. So having that kind of sensitivity to understanding the people who are coming up to your table, you can kind of gauge that. It does take a little bit of time to maybe kind of lean into that to understand it, but it's definitely a valuable thing to know. So those are my 6 tips to selling books in person at events or conventions, whatever it might be. I hope that they were helpful for you. I'm really curious, do you guys actually get out and go to expos and conventions and events like this as authors? Is it something you'd want to do in the future, maybe once you have published books out? Or is it something where you'd prefer to kind of be behind the screen and let your online marketing maybe sell your books for you? I have personally found that I sell much better in person than I do through normal online sales, basically. I find that it's a lot easier for me to make connections with people, despite the fact that I am an introvert. I absolutely love people, and so having that chance to interact with them, especially at events where books are present and people are coming because of the books, it just makes it a lot easier for me to find my ideal reader versus being online, maybe on Amazon, when you've got people coming to your page and they're maybe making a snap judgment based on your cover. Is my cover too sciencey, or is it not sciencey enough, or whatever that might be? So I'm curious, let me know in the comments below, and if you haven't already, would you take a moment to subscribe? We are getting really close to my first 500 subscribers, which is so exciting. I am planning a fun live event here on YouTube once we cross that threshold, probably sometime in June was would be my hope. And I'm hoping to have everybody come and join me here. I'll be doing some giveaways and some fun Q&A type of things here. So if you're part of this community or you've just found my video, feel free to join. We have a lot of fun here. And you can also find me over on Instagram at Create, Explore, Read. And I have a lot of bookish content there. I talk a lot about my books there, but I also still talk about writing too. So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I'll see you next week. Go boldly and write.